Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very good morning to all the people who are not from India. And namaste, and welcome to the Blub World Web Talks 84th edition. In the last 83 episodes, more than 1,000 school leaders have participated on this very platform, shared their ideas, innovations, opinions, observations, and what all interesting they are doing in the space of K-12 education, or simply schools. Out of the first 30-40 episodes, we have documented some of the best 100 ideas that schools implemented or experimented during the lockdown or during the pandemic, and how it helped those schools. And you can also visit those ideas and implement within your school, experiment whether it works or not, from our social media platforms and the magazine that comes out every month. And just to give you a context of the kind of ideas and innovations we're talking about, there's one school in a very small village called Padua in a state called West Bengal in India. They gave a very innovative assignment to their students. They told them to create a custom dictionary at home, once they're at home, where they have to add 5 new words every day and bring that dictionary to school once the school reopens. One school in a very small village in Sundarbans in Odisha started an activity called Wisdom Diary, where they told students to document what all good and bad do they do during the whole day, and it becomes a good vehicle to actually judge their wisdom or their value education status. And people have been doing amazing things to keep kids, parents, and the teaching learning process continuing. And we have tried to document and bring out some of those best ideas so that this knowledge that you create right now during this pandemic, during this lockdown, does not get missed by anybody. So one more idea which I would like to share especially is an idea from Springdale's Academy, that's a school in Guwahati in Assam in India. They started an activity called the balance sheet of time. They taught their students time management by telling them to create a balance sheet of time by considering time as currency and creating a balance sheet every single evening, that what was your investment, what was your expense, and what were your profits, and what will be your dividends that you'll have for the next day. So people have had some amazing and innovative approaches to deal with this pandemic and this disconnect. But today, when the world is trying to come out of it and we are struggling to put things aside and bring in something new in the whole education space, now is the time when we should start discussing what kind of a future do we visualize for the students, for the citizens that we're trying to build and have, and most importantly, what do we teach them? Because a lot of things that we taught or that we knew and we considered as employable or economically viable skills do not exist anymore. They've already been taken over by technology, and all the redundancy that we had in life has now been taken over by tech. So we just got a new measure to check whether we should teach something or not. If technology can do it, don't teach it. If tech cannot do it, only then teach it. So today, in the next 60 minutes that we have with you, we'll try to understand your observations, your perceptions, your ideas on what do you think will be the skills of the future. Once again, a very warm welcome to the Blub World Web Talks 84th edition. We have 2 special guests with us today. As in every call, we try to bring in some people who are not there from the K-12 space. These are the people who can give you a bird's eye view of how the ecosystem is changing for them and what do they see in the whole space that's happening, that's new, that's amazing. So a very warm welcome to those guests as well today. Before I invite the first guest, this is a timed virtual platform, so we would request everybody to please stick to the speaking time. And if by chance you get to miss anything, don't worry. The team will stay connected with you and we'll still get your ideas. And some of the best ideas will be showcased in the next white paper that we publish in the coming month. So let's now listen and hear the words of wisdom or the words of innovation from our lovely and amazing speaker lineup that we have today. Let's welcome the first speaker for today, Mr. George Valenzuela, who's an education coach, author, and advocate, and a lifelong learning, defining person from the US. And he has had a very, very, very early morning. So a very good morning to George. Over to you for the next 4 minutes. Please unmute yourself. A very warm welcome to you from India.
Hello, good morning, everyone. So I'm very new to your format, so I will do my very best to stay on time. Can I share my screen, or am I showing slides?
you can speak. Normally we don't share screens in this. It's typically a speaking
Oh,
format.
okay. I thought I was doing a presentation. Okay, that's fine. Well, in the United States, a lot has changed in education. And so prior to the pandemic, I focused on instructional design, helping schools with their lesson planning, with their curriculum, and also how they deliver instruction. And so I am a computer science teacher or coach and engineering, but I have expertise in all of the content areas. So I would travel all over the US and I would work with schools in K through 16 settings. So I would help an entire school with their planning projects, and I would come back every month. Well, right now, there's very little demand for computer science, for STEM. There is some demand, but most of the focus is on making remote learning engaging for students, because a lot of the teachers haven't been trained in remote learning. So they do a PowerPoint, they'll do a video, but the kids may not log on. So in the United States right now, we are focusing on equity, social emotional learning, or SEL, and using the right tools for making remote learning engaging. And so the work I do now is to help schools understand how to facilitate remotely in a way where the kids are invested, log on, and are happy with the instruction. One of the things that the pandemic spotlighted, not just in the United States, but all over the world, is the impact of family life, transportation, childcare, food, things like that. And so now we have to make sure that the well-being of children and also teachers is taken into account. So that's the social emotional learning. So I'm there. I wrote some articles that I will share in the chat. In the chat, the first article is 3 ways for children to self-manage. Another one is a trifecta for remote learning, which are technology tools. And the last one that I'll share is for social emotional learning. Are you getting those in the chat? Make sure that you bookmark those. Okay.
So thank you so much, George, for setting the right context to the whole discussion and putting in the right ingredients that we need to talk about within the next time that we have. To summarize what you said, you're basically an instruction designer for schools with an expertise in content management, school planning, their projects. Making remote learning for students interesting is the biggest and the most important priority as of now, because we have a lot of content that's being delivered by teachers, by technology, by a lot of platforms. But the biggest problem right now is we are teaching a lot, but we're not sure whether learning is happening or not, at least for a country like India, because here we are meddling around with this for the first time and we haven't had this experience before. And equity, social emotional learning is again quite important at this moment. Right tools for learning. This is the biggest challenge right now, because a lot of the people who run the schools, the school leaders, they themselves are not very tech savvy to be able to judge a technology platform in the right way and to find out what is good for a child and what's not. They do have a very deep understanding of the knowledge or education or the teaching learning process, but they have not delved into technology as such, which they are doing right now, to become much more tech savvy and much more equipped for the coming times. And most important, what the pandemic brought to the focus or put a spotlight on was the impact of family life, and how does this environmental learning, or what we say experiential learning, really matters for the emotional development of any individual. Because one thing that was a utopian dream for all Indian schools was teaching value education, which never happened, and which was something which happened seamlessly and amazingly well during this lockdown because the students were with their parents, and parents was the best teacher for value education. So the format is like this. Once the special speakers have spoken, the real practitioners will put out their ideas on what do they think is going on right now. And at the end, we'll again come back to you for your concluding statements, for your ideas, and what do you think they should be doing to solve their issues. So thank you so much, George. Let's now move on to the next speaker or next special speaker for today. And that's Mr. Ankit Garg, who's the head of outreach and admissions for World University of Design, Sonipat, Haryana, India. Ankit ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Thank you, Daksh, for inviting me here. I am representing World University of Design, which is India's first and only university dedicated to creative education. So I would like to first of all start by congratulating Daksh and the team on completing 80 plus discussions. And I am quite wondering right now that is there anything which is left to be discussed regarding skills for the future? So when I am discussing right now, I am bringing attention to Industrial Revolution 4.0. So we are at the verge of it, and we can see technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain. We can talk about autonomous transportation is there. Then there are advanced robotics already in the picture right now. So these all are the hard skills which are there required to be taught to all our students, and students should be trained in all these skills. But apart from that, what we can see right now is that there are certain industries wherein the impact of these technologies can be seen. For example, we can talk about mobile internet, we can talk about cloud computing. Therefore, the impact of all these things are seen in these industries right now, wherein there are certain other industries wherein the impact would be in the coming months or years we will see. So it is definitely mandatory for all the workforce of the future to align their skill sets to maintain the pace. And also another important thing I would like to point out here is that the half-life of every skill has been reduced now. For example, if we are teaching something to our students today, then probably the skill set might not be valid for a long period of time. So the entire thing, or the part on which we should lay our focus or our attention on, is the soft skill parts, wherein the skills like creativity, there are skills like open-minded approach comes into picture. So I would suggest that a student has to be open-minded in this particular scenario or the future which we are talking about. And second, here comes the most important skill which I would like to highlight is creativity. That is bringing new ideas to the table, which is always appreciated by all the organizations. And the second thing which we at here World University of Design focus a lot is at design thinking. Now, what is design thinking? It is an iterative process wherein we try to challenge the assumptions. We try to make the products which are as per the needs of the user. So the critical skill which comes here into the picture is empathy. That is putting yourself in the shoes of other person and try to bring a solution or a product as per their choice. And ability to understand and share the feelings of any other individual. So I believe that these two, that is creativity and empathy, are the two important skills which would actually help students to face the problems and issues in the coming future. That is from my end.
Thank you so much, Ankit. So before we move on, in these last 83 episodes that BloveWorld has done, we have talked about various topics on various levels from various people. It has been behavioral scientists, it has been school leaders, it has been army professionals, it has been teachers, it has been students. So we have tried to have an opinion from a lot of people on how do they think that change is happening around them. Because we have the biggest challenge that most of us are facing is that the pace of change is so much that we are not able to upskill or reskill ourselves within that much time and within that much window space or small little space that technology actually gives humans when it changes. So reskilling or upskilling has become a really tedious process for everybody. To summarize what you said, that yes, we are now on the verge of the Industrial Revolution 4.0. In India, if we talk about, we are right now moving from a industry-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. And when we do that, there are new types of job opportunities or employability opportunities that come in, but at the same time, a lot of redundant jobs go away forever. And that's where the bottom of the pyramid gets into a lot of issues. Now, when we talk of the coming times, we'll be typically talking a lot about artificial intelligence, advanced robotics. We have to align our skills to the future. And most importantly, the shelf life of a skill has drastically gone down, and the skill sets that are required change very often, and upskilling has become a mandate for everybody who's trying to build a professional life. Creativity in the aspect of ideation, design thinking, and empathy for better decision making. Thank you so much, Ankitji. Now it's time to listen to the real practitioners who are facing their students, their families, every single day for 4 to 5 hours in their virtual classrooms. And one thing that has happened in India is the typical size of a classroom has now quadrupled, because every single class now does not just have students, they have students on a screen, might be their parents, even some relatives, or some brother or some cousin on a single Zoom call like this. And a 30 students classroom is right now somewhere around 100 to 120 people. And that's the way the ecosystem has changed. And more importantly, every single statement a teacher makes, or the kind of content delivery he has, or his mode of teaching, everything is now scrutinizable, and the whole school is transparent. And the school never had a department which it now needs, which is customer relationship management, because we have to answer to a lot of people because there's a lot of scrutiny happening. So let's now move to the people who are fighting it every single day. Let's now invite the first speaker for today, Dr. Ninad Dhavale, who's the principal of SIPNA School of Planning and Architecture, Amravati, Maharashtra. He's also a higher education guy. Let's have his perspective on what will be the skills of the future. Ninadji, over to you for the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, good morning and good evening to all of you. It's a pleasure to talk with all of you here who are really inclined towards looking for some skills. Actually, I have a different perspective on all this. When we are talking about the skills, I think they no longer are can be categorized as soft skills. They are now survival skills. So when we put it in this perspective, then all the skills that Ankit has talked about, like creativity, empathy, working in collaboration, all these skills are no longer soft skills. You have to acquire them to survive in this world, be it education, be it profession, be it business. So my take would be, yes, definitely these skills are required, but the way to look towards those skills are to be very focused, very committed, both from the point of view of the students. And when we categorize them as survival skills, then the seriousness of the whole skill sets really come to us. Like, now this is what we really require. It's not a one thing that skilling and reskilling for the lifetime. It's either you have to have it or you will not be there. So this pandemic has also shown us that how the skills which we talk about as soft skills are so important for our survival. The collaborative, the team playing, the innovation of the the regular things that we do, how we need to innovate them. All these skills are really required. So what my point is that it's not only these skills that we are talking about that the students or the children have to impart. It is the teachers or the educators. We have to be very particular, and we have to chalk out our strategy and trajectory, how we are going to impart these skills. So it's a very daunting task for all of us who are in the field of education and teaching, learning, because we ourselves have to relearn so many things and come back again and then impart those skills to the students who are really at a distance, who may or may not have the opportunity and the technology that all we are talking about. So the challenge is more so at our level, at our end, who are imparting this education. So because the children, as we all know, they are already lonely. They are facing the being alone, FOBO as it is called, FOBA, FOBA. the feeling of being alone. So they already have that psyche going on, that they are all.
Thank you so much, Dinarji. The time was over, but we'll try to come back to you once everybody finishes. We'll again try to come back to you. But what you said, and to summarize what you said, soft skills are no more soft skills, and they cannot be termed that. They are now survival skills. Either you have them or you perish, because you need to upskill, and now that's not a choice that you have anymore. It's a mandate that you need to follow. And when we talk of upskilling, it's teachers first, and then it moves on to students, because as of now, the teachers in our ecosystems are not very well trained to handle such challenges that they are facing right now. And the feeling of being alone, or what you term as FOBA, this is something that has gripped all of us right now, because we've been within our homes for at least last 4 or 5 months. And for adults, it's easier to mitigate the emotional stress that you are having. But for students, it's a lifestyle change that comes in, and it gets very, very difficult to actually get it out of their systems. And as of now, this is something that we need to actually look much more upon. How do we give them that emotional strength that they are able to handle this big gap that has come in their lives? So thank you so much, Dinarji. Let's invite the next speaker for today, Ms. Dharini Bharat, who's the assistant principal at Vasnavi High School, Nirmal in Andhra Pradesh, India. Dharini, over to you for the next 2 minutes. Please unmute your audio. A very warm welcome. Narveen, sir, sorry.
Yeah, am I audible? Just give me a signal if I sound correct. Yeah, great. So thanks for having me here, Daksh. And I represent Vasavi Group of Schools. I'm assistant principal. I'm a teacher, and I am a chief technology officer, CTO for a school. Looks new, but that is need of the hour. So I was the product of the old education system until the past 8 years, when there is no connection between what I studied and what I was doing. After that, I jumped in. I took a break here, went on traveling, really literally redesigned my life, or I should say rewire my mind, which unbox my potentials and try to shift into education system where I can suit. This is not out of context. Why I said this? Because what we are doing now is also connected to what I did in the past. Now coming to this particular unprecedented events that are happening, I would say we were not at all, either our children or our parents or even our teachers were not at all troubled much, I would say, because we have launched a happiness curriculum 2.5 years ago, soon after the Delhi started. So children are aware of their self-awareness and their whatever the beginning session you are telling about the time management and other. Of course, there are some lacunas, but still we have a system where they could understand how to manage such situations. Coming to when you mentioned skills for the future, skills for whom? Like, is it the skills for students for the future, or skills that we need for teachers for the future? So I would say, training children is easy than training teachers. Training teachers, because adults don't have flexible minds, right? Why? Because we stagnated ourselves in one particular zone of the world where we try to move about. Yeah, cool. So I would like to conclude by saying that it's more important for adults to rewire their minds, and so that they become more resilient. Changes are strangeness has become a new routine for us. It's going to become a new routine for us. So it's more important for adults to have resilience so that we can pass on to children. That's the core idea.
Thank you so much, Dharini sir. And yes, CTO is a very new designation for a school, and that's now a need of the hour, that we need very deeply educated, experienced, and quite affluent people with technology in schools, because a lot of tech-based enablement and tech-based products and platforms will now be implemented or being used in schools. And what you told about yourself or your experience of where you took a gap and traveled and rewired and redefined your life, this is something that will become a part of everyone's life once they come out of the formal education system that we have, because now we need to really think and understand what will be our skills and what will we create a professional life on and what will be the base of it. Happiness curriculum helping students emotionally, that's amazing to know that for the last 2.5 years you've been doing that very well. Training teachers is a much bigger challenge than training students, because as of now, the challenge for teachers has two phases. First, where you need to define the future teacher, and second, where you have to define the future of the current teacher. Because there you need to define the new skills that you want, and here you need to define what will you train them with. So thank you so much, Dharani sir. Let's now invite the next speaker for today, Mr. Arvind Kumar, Principal, Sudhiti Global Academy, Jaswant Nagar, Uttar Pradesh. Arvind sir, over to you for the next 2 minutes. Please unmute your audience.
Thanks the organizer for this webinar for inviting me to present my views on the topic skill for the future. So dear audience, let us discuss the most essential need of today, that is skill. Humanity, the overarching philosophy of our time, translate-centered approach in education. In this, the child's need, interest, play activities, and self-concept assumes tremendous importance. Pedagogical strategy, evaluation, teaching techniques, interaction, etc. are now vastly technology-centric due to COVID-19 pandemic. The new skill to interact children with psychological and emotional touch is quite challenging. The 21st century education is shifted towards visual, real to visual. So we need a special techniques, design, approach, and presentation or modules which can make learning more effective. The biggest challenge is evolving students in the new format and making them to take interest in this format. The new education policy 2020 also focus more skill oriented and openness in choosing and learning subject, but overcoming the practical hardness in implementing this vision can only be possible through technological platform. So we can say new era is about networking classrooms with or without human touch, which gradually shifted real to virtual. We are well into second decades of knowledge society. We are living in an era which child psychologists and socialists tend to label competition in the context of education as a bad term. We are talking about the linguistic, analytic, logical, and social skill teaching skill, but missing one term, teaching of thinking skill. The modern educational system in most part of the world take care of what is generally known as passive thinking. This is essential. In addition to this, there is need to teach critical thinking skill and generative thinking skill. The skill of effectively deal with information, where to get it, how to assess, if we evaluate it, check it for.
Thank you so much, Arvind sir. Let's now invite the next speaker for today, Ms. Sayada Nazima sir, who is the principal of Mount Senoria School, Bengaluru, Karnataka. Sayada ma'am, over to you for the next 2 minutes. Please unmute your audio and a very warm welcome.
Good evening, all. Thank you for inviting me to this platform. See, I work in a school called Mount Scenario, which is located in Leggere. See, my school students are not from upper class. They are from a lower middle class society. The challenge which I have faced in my school is, rather than explaining about this technology to the students, I was facing a problem is talking to the parents, convincing the parents, and telling them how it works, what it does, why we have bought it. My whole 15 days works on working on how to implement it. My students are flexible. They wanted to do it, but the parents were not supporting. enormous number of news and reasons, network problem, we don't have a set. Okay, we don't have a set. I have only one set. I have 3 children studying in your school. Time management again. Okay, it was a huge blunder in my schools. It was so difficult for me to console the students, but rather than console the parents rather than the students. So we have made so many things. We had a discussion with the parents. We had a meetings, and finally we come to a conclusion. Okay, and finally we have started with 5 students, then slowly they are joining now. Still 50% of my strength is not ready to join for online classes because of many things which media is telling, many things which others are imbibing in their minds. Yes, now it is a challenging for a principal. You're talking about critical thinking. I'm feeling it very difficult to apply, analyze, synthesize, evaluate, observe, experience, reflect, reason, and communication. All this, I feel there is a gap. And it is very difficult for me to do this. With this, thank you for giving me a time to talk so much. I have many ideas, but time is short, so I'm ending with this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sayeda ma'am. So while the way Blub World curates these calls is we keep certain things in mind. We try to bring in the maximum economic diversity, maximum demographic diversity, and maximum geographic diversity in each call, so that we do not just become the education idealists who are just quoting theories which might not find implementation or application. And that's why we have some special speakers who come in who can first give their perspective on what do they visualize or perceive as the new education that has to come in, and then get an idea from the practitioners, and then at the end give us something that can actually be usable and easily implementable within our ecosystems, because what we face is something really different from whatever is going on across the world. If I just talk about India, nearly 55,000 villages across India don't even have network access. I'm not talking about internet. They don't even have network access. And if I talk of whole of rural India, only 25% of rural India has internet percolation. And then comes the challenge of having a device. So there's a big infrastructure disconnect. And when we talk about a country like India, here we were trying to build the rural education ecosystem. And the epicenter of that was a scheme called midday meal, where we used to give meals in school so that kids come to the school to study. And the paradox right now is that epicenter of the complete education ecosystem cannot be delivered virtually. You cannot let people eat virtually. And when they cannot eat virtually, and that's where education gets challenged. So let's find out more about what's happening across India in different schools. Let's now have the next speaker for today, Mr. Bharat Saran, who's the principal of DAV Public School, Dhanbad from Jharkhand. Bharatji, over to you for the next 2 minutes. Please unmute your audio.
Thank you, everyone. Myself, Bharat Saran. I am a principal. I retired. I am an educational consultant and digital coach. And I'm into education and the education skills. Am I audible?
Yeah.
In education today, we are talking about skills for the future. Just like you just mentioned just now, 75% of villages don't have internet, 55 is purely blank. So if you talk about skills in future skills, we should think about these, our villages. India lives in the villages, isn't it? So if you can't give them proper education, if you can't live them to the basics of education with the latest innovations or whatever way it is possible, is it worthwhile saying that we want skills of this and that and this, like cloud education and open-ended? Open-ended can be done even in school. If you take about the Gurukul system in India, it was open education. Rabindranath Tagore did it also, open education. So we must think of that also. Basic skills for the educate for the people of India is first to give them proper education. Soft skills is necessary. Teach them something at the ground level, like it was taught in the earlier days, with a nice dose of, you can say, latest skills. If you can add it through, give them leadership qualities, help them in communication, help them in problem solving. These critical skills will help them. These skills will help them to grow, and ultimately they can add to the society. Otherwise, we know more than 50% of the people are uneducated. About 50%, I would say, and there are some who don't go across class 8 and 10. So first, we must cater to these depressed or underprivileged category in the villages. If we can do that through our different skills, we can give them. We talk about myth and reality. Myth is what was done in the Gurukuls. Reality is today, cloud-based and this, communicative-based. Everything is required. But they require something basic to add. How much of people come into colleges and universities? I don't think not more than 10, 15%. 85% stay back, more than 5% in up class 10 and the remaining up to maximum graduate. So first, unless we give them practical.
Thank you so much, Bharatji. The time was over, but again, amazing thoughts that yes, we need to work on the ground of it, and we also need to work on the top of it. As far as skills for the future are concerned, we have to find a mix of skills which are viable even for the people who are right now not having the technology access, who do not have the right infra. Because at the end of the day, we need employment for everybody and we need engagement for everybody. So let's find much more ideas which have far-reaching effects and which can actually reach every single corner of this country, which becomes much more substantial for a nation like India. And yes, Gurukuls worked for us, and we need to rediscover those theories. And one big thing that we should actually thank the new national education policy for, that we are finally finding the pride in our ethnicity, and we are leaving something called English and going back to our regional or our Indian languages to learn. Because in our education process, the first thing that we do is not actually learning the concepts. The first thing we learn is translation of those concepts into English to our local language. Because our understanding, our dreams, our thoughts, they are not in English. They are either in our mother tongue or in Hindi or a language that our parents and family speak. So let's not focus much on translation now. Let's go multilingual and let's go to the direct content that we want our students to learn. Let's listen from the next speaker for today, Mr. Rajan Sethi, who is the principal, GRD Academy, Niranjanpur, Madhya Pradesh. Rajanji, over to you for the next 2 minutes. A very warm welcome. Please unmute your audio. You're still muted.
Good evening, Dash, and good evening to all the educators. I'm Rajan Sethi, former principal, GRD Academy, Niranjanpur, Dehradun. I recently quit my job around 2 months back and have started a company of my own known as Infoflux EduTech Private Limited, a company which is into educational products and services. Now, looking at the question of skills of the future, when I look at it, there is no doubt about it that automation and AI, artificial intelligence, is going to be the word of the future. Now, when we talk about artificial intelligence and automation taking over most of the jobs, what we would be looking at is some skills called as social and emotional skills, which these machines do not possess. We will have to learn those skills if you need to survive. We need those skills as a plus now. Now, there are two ways either to get those skills. Either I learn the new skill to continue in my present role, or I learn a skill to enter a new role. Now, coming to another part, what comes to my mind is there are two skills which are most important and will become the skills of the future are. The first skill are the technological skills. Okay, that we can classify as coding and other languages, and the way we communicate with these machines, that is, we classify them as technological skills. When I talk about the next category of skills, which will become very, very important, are classified as soft skills. Rather, I would listening to somebody, I would say they are not soft skills, but they are survival skills for the future. So there is no denying the fact that we will have to learn those skills. We will have to find a way in our education system which will teach our children those skills. There is no denying from our responsibility. There is no shrugging from our responsibility. It is high time that as educators, we took our role and responsibility and find a way somehow to teach these soft skills to our students. Now, when I talk about these soft skills, the biggest skill which our students must be taught is social and emotional skill. Next coming in the line is the leadership skills, good communication skills, ability to take decisions, and that is what we need to do. We need to focus, mingle our education in such a way so that these skills are taught to our children. The second thing is when we talk about...
Thank you so much, Rajanji. The time was over. To summarize what you said, that technology skills will be the most critical skill in the future times. And the way you define technology skills is very good, that the way we communicate with these machines, because at the end, it's going to be a machine-man combo that would work in the future. And to be able to adapt or find a place for yourself in that ecosystem is going to be a new challenge, because everybody cannot be a technology guy and everybody cannot be a science guy rather, because you want people to be good at social sciences. You want leaders, you want politicians, you want economists, you want people in every field. So how would we structure a society where whatever you learn gets attached with a technology skill? So we need to think on those lines. Now, once we have listened to all the people and all the perspectives on what do they think is changing all around them, let's now have some concluding thoughts and some amazing idea that George brings to the table from all the way from the US. So George, over to you for the next 7-8 minutes that you want to take us through a journey of new ideas and new ways that we can use within our ecosystems in India.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed listening to all the perspectives, and also seeing, I can appreciate that, you know, all of the school leaders have a different context and are servicing, you know, different type of children and families. And so if you notice, I was putting in articles that I've written over the past few years. And so when I started my career, I was a lot like Garj, you know, very focused on robotics and computer science and STEM. And the reason why is because in the United States, that became a big focus in 2016. Our former president, Mr. Barack Obama, started an initiative called Computer Science for All. And so very slowly, but eventually, it became part of education reform in every state in the United States. And so that was my undergrad, and you see that it was my research as a college, well, as a graduate student, and I'm also a practitioner. I think that research needs to be a tandem, right, of empirical evidence, but also with, you know, doing. And so a lot of my work really focused on helping teachers and practitioners understand what computational thinking is, STEM and computer science, but from a foundational level. Because once you know the basics, then it's very easy to do the hard stuff. Dr. Stephen R. Covey, who is the author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he said, you have to do algebra first before you can do calculus. And so I focused so much on that, but in the past few months, I realized that not everyone can achieve on that level yet. According to the World Food Program, 319 million children worldwide were depending on food from their school. Imagine, think of our children, our students that were not getting basic food because they didn't go to school because of the pandemic. Imagine if they were our children, our relatives. And so that made me realize that we have to meet people where they are. I think that what Saida said is so important. We have to love all children, and we have to help everyone. And so we have to look at the pedagogies that work. You see, inequities cause disadvantages, and disadvantages cause trauma. The human heart is more important than any machine. And so our work as an educator, because we are at the front lines, when the children log in the morning or they see us in the morning, we are the recipient of whatever problems they have in the home, in the society. And so we have to be ready to handle that. And so I think, in my opinion, and right now in the United States, the big focus is social emotional learning and also racial equity. I think you see the news and you see what's happening. The boy, and I'll also say the girl, who doesn't feel like they're part of the village, eventually they will burn it down. Just think about what I just said and think about what we see in the news. We have to help all our learners. And so we have to meet them where they are. If they come from families where they have the means, then we have to give them that artificial intelligence. We have to give them that design thinking. But when we give them that design thinking, think about what Mr. Garge said. Empathy. Part of design thinking out of Stanford is qualitative research, interviews with the consumer. Have them help their Indian brothers and sisters that are less fortunate. There's a lot of children in the street in your country. So the affluent can do projects for social justice. You know, we have to work together in today's age. Okay? Collaboration and creativity and innovation is not just for certain people, because if we do that, then the society is not growing together. And so I love to hear what you all are saying, and I feel honored to be a part of this. This is not easy work. It's very hard work, but it's hard work. As a teacher, you know, it's our heart. And so, you know, focus on what your students need. If they're the very poor, you have to love them and focus on the emotional needs, the inequities. If they are rich, focus on the technology and the things they need, but make the work in a way where everybody benefits in the society, in the school. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, George. And I think there are two important things that George said, and we must, you know, they must be the typical takeaway from this talk that we have today. First, the boy or the girl who does not find himself or herself to be a part of the village finally burns down the village. So let's not leave a section of the community, of the society around us to fate. And in our teaching process, where we talk of skills, let's bring one project initiative everywhere and make it mandatory, where you try to build projects where students do things for improving social justice, equity, sharing content. If you're a private school with rich kids and you have some government schools around you that do not have the resources, donate your devices that you're not using. Donate your content. Let them come in your virtual classrooms. Let them have that content. Yes, George wants to say something. Yes, George.
Let the ones who know teach the ones who don't know.
So let a lot of peer-to-peer learning happen. Let them get connected to every section of the society. They are feeling one thing right now, which we also forgot within our lifetimes, that if something as small as a coronavirus infects a small city in a country like China, the world gets affected. And as humans, we are all connected. But we lost that connection. And this very pandemic gave us a happy realization moment of that, that don't think that you are not a part of the world. You're here. You're with everybody. So let everybody have that space and have that little bowl of rice that they want for themselves. Before this call comes to an end, there's some food for thought that I would want to share with you so that when we meet next, there's something more entertaining, something more engaging to talk about, and some more innovation to share. You can see one thing right now, if you observe very closely, that the society around you, and this happens very rarely in history if you even look at it, the society or the community around you is right now ready to listen, ready to experiment. And this happens only when we as a society face an existential crisis. If you have an idea and if you tell people, they might listen to you. Otherwise, they would not have. So this is the perfect time to experiment, innovate. So if you ever wanted to do something in the space of education, this is the perfect time to do it. Do it right away because you don't know that experiment might be the innovation that the world is waiting for. So keep doing that and don't lose this opportunity. The core essence or the spirit where Blub World comes from, or our tagline or our motto as a publication, is very simple. It's teenagers inspiring teenagers. And every single month, we find amazing teens who are doing inspiring work across the globe and share their stories with a lot of other teenagers in nearly 5,500 schools across the world. Now I'm sharing a small story just of such a teenager who comes from Melbourne, Australia. She's a girl who started her painting career at the age of 2. She has been homeschooled and has been self-taught, never went to a school, had her amazingly successful show in one of the most coveted museums in whole of Europe at the age of 9. Right now, she earns in millions and is just 13 years old. And that's the cover page of the Blub World magazine last month. And that's Elita Andre from Melbourne, Australia. The reason why we adopted this approach, or why this approach is now even more critical, is very simple. That now only teaching won't work. You need to inspire your students. Find much more better engaging ways to inspire. Now for the next 1 minute, it's an open floor. If you want to say something, some concluding thoughts, you can say that. But in the next, Ankit, over to you.
Yes, so it is very much good and touching to see that from United States to India, we feel same things, and how we want to deliver skills to our kids, our students, is all same. So when we talk about Industrial Revolution 4.0, then we also have a view wherein we talk about basic problems which are being faced by the society. When we talk about poverty, inequality, hunger and all. And similarly, there is a good campaign which is going on from United Nations by the name Sustainable Development Goals for 17. There are 17 goals for all the world, for the entire world. So we at WUD are coming up with a Global Goals Jam, wherein design thinkers from across the world, they come in and they participate in design sprints. So I would like to welcome all the speakers over here to that platform. And this time the topic for that particular event is Education for All. That coincidentally matches the discussion which we are doing here. So it's an open invitation to all if they want to participate in the event and come up with the ideas and which can be implemented at a later stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ankitji. And yes, the United Nations has a list of 17 goals that they call the Sustainable Development Goals, and the fourth goal is of education. And Blub World comes from the fourth goal and the fourth sub-point of it, the 4.4 point of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is community media and creating a lot of community media for engagement. And that's where the idea of Blub comes in. And that's where we are trying to create much more collaborations with people so that a lot of people meet, talk, and find amazing ideas from within your peers. I hope you enjoyed the last 60 minutes. It's time to end the call. If you did, and if you want to be a part of the future discussions, you can open your audio, say a big yes, and a very big thank you for being a part of the Glove World Web Talks 84th episode. Namaste.
Looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you, people. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Looking forward, Daksh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Bye.